all, and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordan Brown. With me for the very first time is our incredible improvisers. Say hi, incredible improvisers.
Hi.
Jess, or I'm so sorry, J-Mac and Zach. As I want to make sure that you are... Zach, do you have a preferred nickname?
Yeah,
or
you
Zach...
used it. It's rad.
Okay, great.
Jess, when did you rebrand?
Well, I was J-Mac in high school, and it came up on my Smarty Pants that I was like, it's really hard to bring back your own nickname. But I was pretty J-Mac in high school, and there was some crossover to college, but it just didn't stick to post-grad life. So some lovely folks are trying to help me bring it back.
Yeah.
So you want
I am one of them.
I like it. I like being a person that has actually... As you've seen happen, Zach, I get a lot of Jess or Jessica, and I'm like, really either? But the Jessica camp is dwindling, because I think we're such a Zach and Jess, and so I'm now so Jess, and I mean, I am Jess. I am those things, but my answer used to be Jess or Jessica, no Jessie, which is still true. But in high school, I was very much like J-Mac, McKenna, MC Kenna, MC, and that's fun.
I've been Reino in situations where there is a second Zach. Mm-hmm. So that's the only one that I would have. How about you, Jordan?
This is dumb. So there's a group of people. I go to this a comedy thing in Austin called Master Pancake Theater, and I'm not one of the performers, but periodically they have you bring movies. It's like Mystery Science Theater, but live. So periodically they have you bring movies and you pitch them to the audience, and I'm one of the people that does that a lot. And then another Jordan showed up, and so I became Classic Jordo, like a classic Coke situation.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But look, we're recording this on July 5th, and I just want to get y'all's feelings on this July 5th. How you're feeling about Fingers to the Sky? Feeling good? Feeling?
We were talking about a couple. It is sort of. I would say it is only barely related to the holiday, the 4th of July.
It is one of our more evergreen things, though, where I am like, yeah. I mean, the premise of this being that someone thinks that fireworks are a war on the sky. I stand behind that comedic idea. Where sometimes things come back to you, and you're like, I don't know if I would still make that joke today for whatever myriad of reasons. And that one, I'm like, I mean, it's still pretty funny that you think that you're, and also we've built into it that the people are getting very drunk on 4th of July Mai Tais.
Unlimited Mai Tais, yes.
Right. Well, classic 4th of July drink.
I'm also
Mai
like,
it
does make...
Everything about that video is like, these are two idiots. And I do stand by them.
Anytime that we're coming from a place of idiot, we're pretty safe.
Yeah. The top comment on YouTube is like, this went so quickly from 4th of July anthem to war on the sky. Yeah. I was like, it really does.
Yeah, you got to keep moving in a comedy song. You can't stay in one place. You got to go. And just reiterating that, think of your 4th of July as having more rum-based drinks. I'm always in favor of. I feel like the light beer has like the corner on 4th of July, and really get some rum in there. Get some tiki punches. Come on.
What are we doing? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Get Mai Tais. It just makes sense. All right, you two are here to talk mock trial. I'm so excited about it. I also learned this week that Spinal Tap 2 is a thing that's happening, which is just I didn't like literally someone posted, and I was like, wait, like not only is Spinal Tap is back in theaters today, and then a second one is coming out in September, and I was like, I didn't know either of those things. I own a shark sandwich hoodie. Like I'm in it. Mock trial will be a mockumentary. That there was a connection in my brain. I didn't say it out loud.
I got it. Yeah.
Great. Run me through like how mock trial came about. I know some of the details because I've of course subscribed to your newsletter and have read every single word that you have produced about it.
That.
I'm notified on launch for that Kickstarter, which obviously other folks should be doing. If I don't know when I don't know when the Kickstarter launch. This may come out after that, but we'll talk about it. Anyway, tell me about mock trial.
No matter what. So this is it came from I think a lot of different places. It was like both proving to ourselves last year that we can and should start developing an idea that felt smaller in scale to some of the like large musicals that we have pitched, sold, are still developing, would still love to make one day. but as things are hard to make, we were just trying to think of ideas that felt a little more grounded, not a musical, and something that we could be in, because we really miss being in stuff. And that was how our writing partnership started, was like one-off projects like Fingers to the Sky, small things that we got to just be in. And so we've been noodling on this, and mock trial is a real activity that Zach and I were both a part of in high school, where kids pretend to be lawyers, and it's a fake case in front of a real judge. Kids are lawyers and witnesses, and it's a competitive competition. It's super fun and nerdy and specific. And Zach and I were 4 or 5 years into our partnership before we discovered that we had yet another thing in common, which was that we had done not only mock trial, but the same exact California specific program. And because we're the exact same grade, we had done literally the same cases. And so
it's good when adults
yeah,
say
well, I was like, we're not exactly the same age, but no, like, we're the same grade.
But we are the same grade. So like, it is extremely likely that, you know, in our senior year of high school, we were in the same random, whatever school was hosting like a California competition, like maybe Riverside, that we were in the same building, just not knowing it, and wouldn't meet until years and years and years and later. But it is a weird point of crossover that we didn't talk about for the first like forever of our working partnership. And then once we discovered it, we were we did an episode of Off Book, our improvised musical at Curious Comedy Theater. And I always say it wrong. It's Portland, right? Portland. It's not Seattle. It's in Portland. Yes. And that was like a show, that one of our only shows on YouTube from like earlier on in the podcast. And it did really well. And it just sort of like reinforced that there's some there is something that we say when we're talking about writing or ideas that have like legs or not. And mock trial is just this time in high school that we were both so passionate about this extremely dorky specific thing that even if you have no idea what it is, you had something that was this. And we've had people reach out to us since announcing that they were like, oh yeah, for me it was like speech and debate or model UN. Yeah, exactly. Like whether or not you had this, some like iteration of this was around. And so in that way, like whether you know what mock trial is or not, we think this movie is just like a really fun high school vibe that everyone sort of remembers. We're not playing high school students, obviously, even though we are quite young. We're playing the coaches.
Easily could. I admire that you decided not to.
30s to play teenagers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, is what it says on our costume sheet.
And I think like those Christopher Guest mockumentaries. I watched. I feel like I have a theory that your first one is like the one that imprints on your brain the deepest. So I actually came to Spinal Tap later, but Waiting for Guffman and then Best in Show. So Waiting for Guffman to me is, you know, it's like a foundational text. And I think we've watched the mockumentary get used so well in TV, but it's been a minute since I feel like there have been great feature ones. Or they're using the form like really lightly to just like have a talking head or use that structure that we're now so used to seeing comedically. And it felt like, and literally there was a documentary about mock trial called Raising the Bar. I think it was made by the same people who made like the Spelling Bee doc, but it didn't really do as like big of a splash as the Spelling Bee. And I remember because our team was like maybe going to be featured in it, and then we were really disappointed when not. But it's like a thing that really would have a documentary. And so I think that helps and makes the why of it all feel a little more organic. We don't really have to try that hard to envision it. It's like, I could picture this. And so we're really excited to play in that form. And so we do feel like it's obviously very like Zach and Jess coded in its lore, in its tone, and the fact that the movie will be semi-scripted, semi-improvised, and we get to bring in a lot of our friends to help make the funniest version possible. But it will be also just a slightly different skill set that maybe our fans have seen from us in a while. And we're really excited about that. Like, obviously we love music and comedy overlap, but you know, we also are just actors, and that's like where we started, and we've written things together that aren't as capital M musical. And you know, we just have been tired of all the no's, and we've decided to make our own path forward.
It's really interesting. One of the things that's really interesting is you are there's now like a quad of dropout stars who are making movies, like Izzy Rowland, Katie Maravich, and Rekha Shankar. All of their movies are about dead people and grief. Every single one of them.
So something that's important to know about Jessica and I is that we have lived sort of blessed. We've had sort of blessed tracks through charmed. Maybe way to go.
I think that. Yes,
we're very lucky.
I think that taking taking comedy and meeting heavy issues is like such a gift to the world. It has never totally been our shared voice, and I think if you're going to ask for your fans to support you financially, and you're really betting on yourself to make what will be our first feature in the world, even though we've written and developed other ones, this will be the first one people ever get to see. There just feels something really organic about making it as true to your voice as possible. And I mean, it's a lot like a band, right? It's like the freshman album is sometimes artist's best because, or it's one of their best, and then there's like a sophomore slump album because it's the buildup of like everything you've been trying to get in the world is now ready to like explode into a piece of art, a piece of storytelling, piece of content. I kind of feel like that's how it has felt to work on this, is like it is so easy to go to this extremely deep well of the type of characters that inhabit this world, the type of jokes we want to make, the stakes we want to give it, the heart that we want to have at the center. Just it. Even though it's not a musical, it'll feel like an off-book episode because it's this kind of stuff we've been refining for over a decade of working together.
And an off-book sort of organizing principle has always been about sort of like unfettered and often ridiculous like joy. Off-book is a pretty safe thing to listen to, and by that I don't mean it's like that we don't try to say things that we think are important or like that we shy away from subject matter that we don't like, but we realize that what people have responded to and what we are sort of drawn to making is this sort of safe space of comedy that is that can be like a refuge from some of the darker things in our world today. Not to say that the Mock Trial, the movie, is without drama or stakes, because it certainly is, but like those stakes are personal. Those stakes are no one is in danger of physically dying in Mock Trial. We think it's improvised, right? So you never know.
Those other dropout pals, you can see how I think it's there. To me, it feels like also, though it is answering a similar instinct, which is like this desire to present a well-rounded version of what you're doing. Like if you've made a fan base or built a fan base in Dropout, which is like, brightly colored and cheery, and sometimes you get clipped to the 30 funniest seconds you did that day. It is nice, and I think I can see even though our subject matter is different, there is like a common theme there, which is a desire to tell a bigger, perhaps more grounded story, a story with, to just present yourself not only in these bite-sized things and also not necessarily in the version, on Dropout, you're yourself. And like, you might be playing a heightened version of yourself. You might drop into characters in certain moments or in certain shows. You might get to do a little bit more character work. But I kind of like that's sort of like what it goes back to. Is like Zach and I wish we could just be actors, but Hollywood has said no thank you. Or they haven't said thank you enough that we do have to do other jobs. And we've been lucky enough that those jobs have been creative. But I mean, since I was a little kid, I wanted to be an actor. Like I wanted to inhabit a role, play a part. And I think part of what we're doing here is really is to try to take some of that back too, of giving ourselves that opportunity. Yeah.
Roles that of course are like drawn from ourselves, but like, it's so funny, Jess. I hadn't thought of that super much until you said it, which is like, Dropout is very much constructing, like you are performing as yourself.
Yeah, we do it all the time in our podcast too. Like, even though we're dropping into parts, we're playing like 10 people in an episode. So you're not like, you're similarly not seeing it. And it's still, there's still that version that in improv, it's, if you're playing something far from yourself, it's probably only for like 2 seconds, right? And most of the characters you play are usually drawn pretty similar to you. And these characters are too, but we at least get to like live in them and inhabit them and make them 3-dimensional.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. All I could think of, Jess, while you're saying that, excuse me, J-Mac, while you're saying that is canonically horny Jess McKenna, as you're saying. No, I'm playing myself.
Well, yeah,
Very
exactly.
funny.
But also, like, that isn't true, right? Like, yeah, and also
version.
like
Yes.
that's the well I get to go to on Dropout is like, making jokes about myself and like who people feel like they've gotten to know as Jess or J-Mac McKenna, not making choices about like, oh, I think in this scene my character wants this. And that is still something that I like want to be able to do as part of like building out my career and fighting for opportunities, is like making sure that that's still part of it. Like for this will be the fourth summer I'm in a group of friends that puts on like a fairly serious play in a summer, like in a backyard. And it's really fun because it is like going back to a rehearsal process and like learning lines and playing like a character that isn't funny.
And I think a lot of the Dropout audience, I think a lot of the Dropout performers are this, but many of them did not come from straight up theater school where Zach and I did for most of their life and thought that's what they were going to be doing. Like, and had to, post-graduation was like, it seems like I'm not on Broadway every day. What is the career that I now
kind of can't help but notice I'm not on Broadway every single day.
Interesting. I am looking around. I do seem to not be on Broadway. Interesting.
I seem to be in Southern California still.
In California, which I love.
I really thought I was going to be on Broadway every single day.
But I'm not on Broadway, starring as the adult lead male roles in the musicals that are mostly, in my particular type, 55-year-old men. Interesting.
Zach, you're going to have such a big Broadway career when you're 50.
Even but like, can I go live there? I don't know if I can. I do love it here.
I know, buddy.
But thank you.
The real dilemma will be when you're 50 and all those Broadway roles are rolling in, and you're like, "But I love my, my Malibu mansion that Mock Trial paid for." Just like
that's right.
Thank you.
And thank you for bringing that up, Jordan. Because the main reason we are doing this movie is to make a lot of money, like profit money. Yeah, and the art is sort of secondary.
You've really honed in on what we're in it for.
It just makes sense. All right. I pointed to myself when you said everyone. So I talked to Katie Maravich and Tamara Levine like literally 3 days ago, I think, like about their movie. And I mentioned the same thing to them. And it feels so weird to be like, there's a quote from the Everybody Loves Raymond creator. That's the weird part.
Phil?
Where he talked about
Phil?
Yes.
Phil Rosenthal?
Yes.
From Somebody Feared Phil?
Where he talks about like the specificity of something is actually what makes
universal.
It like a broader appeal. Yes. Yeah. And like I'd had this thought, like before you even mentioned it, I'd had this thought of like, I didn't have mock trial at my high school, but I did have debate, and oh boy, was I very serious about that. My question is, all right, so we didn't have mock trial, so I don't know this, but had we had mock trial, where would we, like if we were all in high school together, I'm a debater, you're mock trial, are we friends, enemies? What's our vibe? Like,
I will say this, if they have our program, they probably don't have yours.
That's fair.
Most schools have one or the other. Unless you have the biggest high school
I think that planet. If you... in a world where both could exist, I could picture one being like fall season, spring season. And that would actually be really great. Because mock trial only runs through the fall. It's like playing like a one quarter sport. And that is really cool and chill about it. Because it's very all consuming. So it was good that then you could be maybe a smaller part in the fall play and then be the lead in the musical. Not to speak from a hyper specific experience, but
weirdly that was ours too. It conflicts with the play,
not
the musical, so you can miss a couple rehearsals. And I will say this: generally speaking, the sort of student body that is involved in these things, I can't imagine you aren't trying to make friends at every conceivable opportunity. So I don't know that we're putting up a lot of barriers to the speech and debate team, because those are probably
I mean, if they weren't, they'd be our fun like frenemies. Like we would have probably like a bowling night where we would like get a little too competitive, but it would all be like sort of in good fun. But I think what would be best if I was designing a high school would be to do mock trial in the fall and debate in the spring. And if not, if you were a debate kid and they conflicted, and then we could bring you over to our side with the siren song of be on the mock trial team, I would put a debater in pretrial. And pretrial is this really specific part of the mock trial program that is, I don't really understand football that well, but it's what I keep referring to internally as special teams, which I think is correct. But it's basically like one kid per side gets up and they, if they're on the defense, they're making a motion to exclude evidence for a constitutional reason. And that kid has to straight up by themselves talk to a real life judge as the judge interrupts them and goes, now, wait a second, counselor. I'm not sure that case law from Arizona is actually applicable here. And that kid on their feet has to be like, excellent point, Your Honor. But because of this later case, it did cement it to be guidance, if not binding. And we can actually look at this additional case. It's so hard and it's so specific. And if you're good at it, you're kind of a hero of the team because that section is triple weighted score wise. So every time that, like, if I got up and gave a direct examination, I get a score 1 through 5. Okay, that's great. I can make some points for the team. But if I get a 5 in pretrial, that is automatically 15 points. So if you have a good pretrialer, it like sets your team up to just be ahead the whole match.
That's like getting a 5 on your opening statement, closing argument, and cross-examination. It's huge. And it's funny because it's like that piece of evidence that either is or is not admissible based on pretrial makes the case easier or harder. And again, in mock trial, it's not actually about who wins the case. It's just about how you present it.
The verdict doesn't matter.
But
it's that's like one of the only things, though, you do have to be like, oh my gosh, we lost the pretrial? That's weird. So they can put that evidence in. And you would have to react on the fly. Also, my high school boyfriend was the pretrialer for my side, and he did win Orator of the Year, which basically just means best kid. Orator of the Year, like
Orator
of the Year,
or not Order of the Year. Like he wasn't knighted.
No, Order of the Year. So pretty cool for me. Kind of awesome flex that I dated the Orator.
Yeah, great job.
So yeah, that's where I put a debate kid because it's like the other ones. Well, we also had different strategy. Our lawyers were 3 lawyers per side, not including the pretrialer. So you'd be your opener, your middle attorney, and then your closer. And the way we did it, you could do it however you wanted to do it for your school strategy wise. Like if you had a weaker team member who is still a pretty good lawyer, you could give them just a handful of witnesses, but our middle attorney had 4, like 2 witnesses they directed and 2 witnesses they crossed. And for those kids, they wanted you to be really good at objections because you can only object when it's one of the witnesses you are going to direct or cross. This is really in the weeds. This will be the first clip you put out. It's just me explaining this bit of the absolute drill down
strategy. About mock trial strategy and
in
how,
our movie,
and how much what you assign your lawyers
the trial size are only 2 kids just to have a smaller cast. But I was like the middle attorney because I really liked objecting. I closed my senior year, but that meant that would be a good place for a debater too, because it's that little bit of like back and forth. It's actually, if you're an opener, you can really memorize that statement and just be good at speaking, and you can have lots of practice to write it. It's not really affected by anything that's happening. So we would usually put like a sophomore in that position, you know, like someone who's newer. They get to do a very rehearsed speech and then maybe like 2 witness moments. And then the middle.
Jess, did you have 2 teams or just
one when I was there?
Team?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zach's school was big enough to have a JV. My school has since sometimes had a JV. They go back and forth depending on like how many kids audition.
Yeah. You would never in a million years have a sophomore being an attorney of any kind in my school on a varsity team, and a JV team maybe. I think the JV team was like entirely underclassmen.
What a huge program! Congratulations, San Marcos. No, I was a sophomore attorney. Yeah. Oh gosh, this comes up in our improvised musical. You are shocked about this, and I'm like, this is regular to me, and that's what's fun about improv. Is you're like in live in real time. You're like, I'm learning a fact about my friend actually.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't think I've listened to a bunch of Off Book, but I discovered it when you did the official cast recording. So I had a lot of episodes to catch up on.
Yeah. By the time Mountport comes out, we've maybe almost finished the studio recording.
Yeah, basically yes. And I was like, oh, I got, and I don't know if you can hear in the background. I have a 4-year-old out there,
so you have a lot of time.
So tons of podcast time. He loves it when I just pop in headphones and ignore him. I want to be really clear. That is not a thing I do.
If you heard that and you thought, wait a minute, children famously don't like it when you don't pay attention to them, you were right.
Everyone here agrees.
You were right with that instinct.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, it's really funny. So I grew up in Southern Illinois. And Illinois had some like
area. Yes.
Yeah. And like we had some, there has to be some law in Illinois that like depending on the distance you traveled, you had to go in a charter bus if it was like really far. So when we would go to Chicago for like obviously suburbs, but like we'd go to Chicago to like do a debate, we would take a charter bus, which is incredible as a high schooler. But one of the things that I thinking about like mock trial and now being like fully sold on that we would have been friends or at worst frenemies. Because when we would travel with speech and debate like together, all the speech kids were at the front like singing show tunes and we were the angsty loners at the back of the bus. Like,
wait, I'm learning something in this moment that speech and debate is not one thing. It's speech and debate.
Two separate entirely things.
And sometimes speech referred to as forensics, which don't get confused with like dusting for fingerprints.
They don't do that anymore.
Because it's always confusing.
So here's the wildest thing. Please. I was a member of the NFL, the National Forensic League, which was for like 30 years. And finally they were like, look, everybody thinks the NFL is football. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, and also everyone thinks forensics is solving dead people
also,
crime.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're like, we're going to call it speech and debate now. I think that I don't know what the new official title is, but it's not the NFL anymore.
Okay, but the speech kids were the musical theater nerds is what you're saying.
I have my God, there's no way you're gonna be able to see that, but that does say NFL on it from my senior year at Nationals.
Yes, and this is what I love is that it is its own wild subculture. I went to college with a ton of speech and debate kids, and obviously like in the theater program, a ton of speech kids. They would be like, oh, I think like half of the theater department would have been like finalists, like humorous in Terp, duo in Terp, and there were people who knew each other from tournaments and like speech camps and stuff like that. And then different flex, my college boyfriend who I met on the college mock trial team.
Jessica has had
Can you
multiple
believe?
boyfriends.
And thank you so much. And he was, I think he went to nationals for debate, and there was like, when I'd be like, oh, I'm making all these theater friends, he'd be like, that is different. I mean, it's technically the same. A lot of times it's like maybe the same program. You might even be at like the same tournament, but no, those are completely different categories. And then even within the speech world, there'd be like the different bifurcations of like, oh, I was humorous in Terp. That was dramatic in Terp. We didn't really get along that much. I dated
you keep saying
in Terp. Interpretation in Terp.
Terp. I thought you were saying humorous and Terp, and I had to know Terp.
And then even in debate, there's different categories, right? Like you can, okay, so what was your event?
Yeah, so there's policy debate, which was 2-on-2, and then Lincoln Douglas, which was 1-on-1. And Lincoln Douglas was usually much more like, not vibes, but like a much more like emotional, like reasoning debate. And then policy was just read as fast as you can, as many like citations that you can throw at the other team until they just are broken by your speed. That was the general strategy.
Which was your event, or did you do both?
I was a policy.
So policy, and also, is there an event where you don't know which side you are till you get there? Like you have to have both sides prepped, or is that?
You would always be affirmative and negative. You would just like switch back and forth at any given tournament, and so we would have like a broad resolution, like that you should increase renewable energy was one of the years that I was there. Increase renewable energy in the United States, and so like we had our set case, but then we would alternate, and we would be on the negative, and we would just like walk into a round and find out like what the other team was proposing at that moment and just have giant tubs of articles that we would like quickly be pulling through to be like, all right, and here's why. And let me give you a secret. Everything led to nuclear war. Every single thing.
Oh, okay. Even more intense.
You got to bring those stakes.
Yeah.
That's what every kid doing one of these things in high school understands. Is like, this is rooted to the most important thing in the world.
Yeah, so Bill Clinton would have to use his political capital to get solar panels, and if he did that, he wouldn't be able to expand NATO, which means Russia would invade Ukraine. Honestly, look, it was 30 years ago, but not that far off. And then nuclear war. So
and that's
literally
and that's why we all live in bunkers now.
Yep. So yeah, it was a very weird time. It was also early, like the internet was so little that the REM song, "It's the End of the World as We Know It," we were all convinced was about a debate round because it was one of those like fully fake rumors, but because it was so fast, and "It's the End of the World as We Know It" and "I Feel Fine" like felt like a debate round because everyone's just like, yeah, we're all gonna die, and so like everyone believed it, and then of course like years later I looked it up and it's like, no, not even a little bit.
That's great.
Not even.
I mean, a time when you couldn't just immediately look up what something was about or who did something is a simpler, slower time. And while I do think, the march of progress is generally good, there is a part of me that's like, to not know the name of that actor, to not know what the lyrics of that song
or that a rumor could be like, I don't know, that's what I heard from my cousin's brother. And you'd be like, wait a second, your cousin's brother is also still my cousin.
Things that spread before the internet, like across the country, is truly wild. From the power of cousins at barbecues, and it's just like, oh, okay. Yeah. Homestar Runner. How do you find homestarrunner.com
pre-cousins?
Modern internet. I don't know.
But you are exactly like tapped into the like energy we're trying to capture, which is that like, and I'm sure you felt this way. It can take over your whole life, and it feels like, and in a situation like that, to have like a totally different skill set be validated by adults is really exciting and empowering, and also like scary when you lose it. Like when I would lose a round, I would just be like, I can't believe I'm gonna let like all these adults down, or like these adults didn't think I was good at that objection. Like, oh my gosh, they like versus like activities that I already knew I was good or bad at, which is like, you're not that great at soccer and you've been playing since you were 5. It was like, and almost everything else I loved, like singing and being in plays and things like that, I had been doing since such a young age that they all kind of felt like solidified. Like, this is what I'm good at and I like it. And it was really exciting to find something new that I was good at. And for me, like super personally, I have very like talented and high achieving older siblings. So for me, like everything I did in high school was like, oh, like your brother, oh, like your sister, everything came with like this expectation. And I remember finding like such pride in doing mock trial for many reasons. But one of them was like, oh, it was the only thing I did in high school that my siblings didn't do. And it got to be like just mine and not compared to anything. And that was really cool because I was lucky enough to find things I loved. Like some people, they don't find that till much later in life. But when you find that at an age that's still so, your nerve endings are so raw and your passion and growing and your passions are burning like so bright. There's something so special about that. And I think that's the engine of this movie. And that's the heart of it. That's the universality in the specificity, is everyone knows what it feels like to start to figure out what you really like doing. And then if it's super niche, get that sensation of not everybody gets this, but I get it. And I think that's like part of this movie as well, and part of what will make it universal.
And when you find other people that are going through that same thing at the same time,
so special.
It's like, it's very special.
Yeah, I'm 42 years old and I have that trophy sitting on my desk still. Like it meant. It also really helps that it is.
No, it's
that
great.
Small.
It's great.
That's
like a great
all sorts
dish.
Of stuff in there.
There is a bunch of junk in there.
That's what I need.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really excited. All right, so I do want. All right, before we get into the Kickstarter, I have gotten to see both of you do improv live, which is very cool. Zach very recently, but Jess, I got to see you two with Ben Schwartz and friends when you came to Austin, which is where
great.
I live.
Which show were you at?
And
do you remember?
I was at. I absolutely do. This was going to be my question is like you do for both of you, but like you do so many improvised shows. Like how, like, so it was about a guy was going to have a mascot
That's just because I was going to ask you because like it was so good.
Yeah.
Because when we have an audience member with a particularly fun or interesting story, then the show will stick in my head. So I was going to be like, were you at the mascot guy show? Because it was particularly
other
and
one.
I think the other one was good too, but it just didn't stick in my head. But anyway, those were both really fun.
It was one of those things like that because it felt so uniquely weird. I was like, there is a shot that J-Mac remembers.
100%.
But I have a hyper specific question from the show. At one point, someone, I don't remember who, maybe Colton Dunn, I don't remember who, is pretending that they're going to be the mascot for Frasier. And no, they don't know anything about, like, clearly, like, as questions are being peppered at them and you're not in the scene, how hard was it for you not to rush forward and correct everything that was going on?
Oh my gosh, that's great. It was probably really hard. My first instinct was probably like, can I justify a walk on here to answer this? Is it funnier to live in Colton not knowing? It probably is. Can I hold this so that actually the way I'm going to use this information is as a callback later where I simultaneously get to satisfy for people in the room who know Frasier more, but also call back Colton not knowing? I'm sure that was probably, if I could put myself in that back line, that's probably what I was thinking. And especially if it was Colton, that's a very funny performer to not know stuff. He has like incredible like confidence and it is funny to both watch him know or not know. It's funny to watch him do anything. So it's probably, and then if it was Drew, I could see us like really needling him. And the more that I do Ben Schwartz and Friends shows and the more that it's like the more shows you do with the same people. I mean, it's the same with Zach. Like, obviously I know Zach's life very well. And so if I know we're in an area that he doesn't know about, it's obviously very fun to play with that, where you're like, and again, you can tell me all about this topic or, and I think that friends when you're real friends with the people you're performing with, the more you know them, the more you know how to like set them up to succeed or fail. And there is no such thing as failing in improv if you do it confidently. So even setting them up for a fail is actually setting them up for success. And and I think Ben Schwartz and Friends, we have found the joy of doing that with each other a lot. Like Ben posted a very long clip recently of a D&D scene, and I have never really played, but in my like friend group and my like dropout association, I obviously have through osmosis internalized some of the dropout. Yeah.
You can't be around me
and not know some of it.
Sort of know what the general
and
vibe
so my
is.
role in that scene became being like the voice of reason who kept trying to get us back on track, but also call out like, Ben, it is so clear that you have no idea what a DM would do. Like, because, and then that became like the fun of the scene was just like watching this person. And he justified it where he was like, oh, you guys, you told me I could do it for one day, like that we were letting someone else try it. And we were like, okay, absolutely. We want you to succeed, but everything you're doing is wild. And, but yes, that's very funny and specific. I mean, really tough.
It was.
I think I would want.
It's just such a joy, like, as someone, I don't know why I know that you love Frasier. I'm sure it's from Off Book. Like, it has to be.
Yeah, and I would also really want to celebrate something really specific from Frasier. Like, I'd be like, the mascot should be the ironing board from the classic Niles Cold Open. Like, it should be like Roz's headphones. Like, obviously, you think, let's go to the dog. But I think, let's go beyond,
Yeah, I love it. I do want to. I also want to talk just like a general like heapings of praise at how both of you are super brilliant. Because we just did a whole bunch of Jess stuff, Zach. I got to talk to Vic Michaelis every once in a while, and they were in, I guess, makeup or whatever while you were performing Horse Girl on Make Some Noise, and they could not stop talking about the brilliance of Horse Girl, which obviously now has become a Deep Blue Ink, like an incredible animated, like when you hit a home run like that? How's it feel in the moment?
Well, I mean, you can see how I feel about it because I think it's captured by how it, like, afterwards I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's that. It's so funny because, like, it feels good. It also feels like there is this thing, particularly in musical improv, that is sort of flow state-y. You'll see Jess do it all the time. You'll see Ross do it all the time, where it's like you just sort of get in a pocket and you ride a wave. And while you're doing it, you're sort of locked in. And it's not until after it's done that you're sort of like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I think you can see me in that after that song stopped. I'm like, yeah, that felt pretty. It felt, I think it was good. I don't know if those were all words. Yeah. And we made it through, but I think I literally say some of those words aren't words. And then I went back and listened to it. I think they're actually mostly words. Mostly words. That sort of disconnect between what it is and what it feels like, it's like you can't look at it while you're doing it, because to look at it breaks the ability to do it. But that's very, very kind of both you and Vic.
That was like in a similar vein. Just I haven't talked to Brennan about this, but when you were on the Brennan episode, it was in a very platonic way, like he had cartoon hard eyes, watching you do improv, and having gotten to see, because I also got to see you a few times at South by a few years ago when you came through. And I feel like a button machine to me of just like, I'm ready to pull back. like we got a hook that we're going to, I'm ready to like close out a scene. And you do it a bunch, like so brilliantly. There's no question here. Brennan thinks you're great.
That's really
I think
kind.
You're great. That's it.
It's very,
that's correct.
That's, it's nice to sort of, I think the longer you do anything, the more you kind of know what your superpowers are. And I think I have realized that my memory is something that I can bring to a team or a table. And so I think most of that is just like, I know I'm the person who maybe remembers exactly what that character said 5 scenes earlier. And that's like, it really is a team. And so I know that's like what I can bring. And I am not as often like able to be in like a flow state, not lyrically like Horse Girl, where it's so many words so quickly. And I'm not always like making the biggest character choices. Like so I think when you know your strengths and weaknesses, you play to them better. And I think me having that little like, oh yeah, I enough people have said, and I now can agree that my memory is freakish. And so I will use it to our ability.
It's quite good. I think you see it in the third act of off-book things all the time. Also, like your ability to sort of like construct rhymes very quickly, but everyone has sort of different, sports team like stats. Like if a song starts and neither of us have like any idea what it's supposed to be about, I will probably open my mouth and just start saying things first, and then I'll like that will go well, and then by the time that I am done, Jess will have something like really good, something like cooked, that will actually be helpful and not just stalling for time. Like
no, but you're helping.
But sometimes I open my mouth and something comes out, and that's good too.
Like Zach will be like, "Okay, here are words," and I'm like, "But plot-wise, what should this character think right now? Okay, maybe that's the chorus." And then by the time we get those first 2 steps out of the way, now we both can be like, "Whew, okay, off to the races." And it's something that we've learned in our partnership through many like years and also different mediums, is that we just like want to work smarter, not harder. So we know those divides and those strengths and weaknesses. Our Venn diagram is extremely overlapped, but it is still not 2 identical circles. And that's awesome, because that means like where I'm not as good, Zach can fill in, or where like your brain isn't going, or your subject matter. Like there's things that I know about that. Right. And then vice versa.
I just don't know things that Jessica
and vice
knows.
versa.
It's mostly.
I mean, we had trebuchet in Chicago, and I was like, "What?" And then suddenly, like Zach was able to talk about like medieval weapons, and I was like, "And that's why we're both here."
Yeah, I guess I do know about 2 things.
No, you know about a lot. That's why we're both here. That's why we're both not stand-ups, and so like the button thing is a very sweet and specific compliment. I really appreciate it, and I think it is me coming to like know myself as a performer and be like, yeah, well, that's kind of something I can bring.
it's also you being like an incredibly good listener in a scene, which I feel like particularly with newer improvisers or more selfish improvisers, they're just like only interested in performing, but being able to like call back stuff that other people have said, tie things together, pick up on something that other people in the audience or on stage have missed is just like an active listening thing, which I think only comes from being like a very confident performer, which Jessica with McKenna is. I'm trying to use all the
Thank you, Zachary William Reino. You're the same. And like it's different when you're first on a Herald night and there's 8 people and you want to make sure you get like you're stage time hungry. You want to make sure that like your scene cooks, and there's a little bit of selfishness that I think you might actually even need in the beginning just to sort of figure your stuff
100%.
out, get your reps, and then as long as you go on, you're able to just relax into knowing like you're not there to prove yourself as much. You're there to like be in the best show possible. And sometimes that means not walking on and correcting Colton and letting us all laugh on the fact that like, has Colton ever seen an episode of Frasier?
It's so good. Zach, I say like I got to see you do Chill Touch in LA like a month ago. It was super fun. Very excited to see you at Gen Con do Chill Touch some more.
Yes, I'm happy to jump on that train that those two started.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, look, but you did a thing that I don't remember even what the prompt was that got you into singing songs about, like, I think it was the manosphere. It doesn't matter. Anyway, you kept making your songs actual songs where it was supposed to be like
you've lit up the neural pathway. I remember what this was. This was an a cappella group who was recording what was going to be the new beep 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 sound on a hospital heart rate monitor.
There you go.
Yes.
God, that incredible memory. Look, and you think Jess has the memory.
Look, I mean, like, I truly think that the way that, like, we've done so many off-book shows, and in The Void, I remember none of them. But as soon as someone's like, here's the thing this was about, it, like, lights up this pathway that then connects back to the server, and it's all in the cloud. I just need someone to pull it out. Because it's not actively, like, if I'm looking at the picture on the iPhone before I hit it, I have no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
It was just very fun to wait. It was such a great choice because it was supposed to be like that you wouldn't have to worry about getting clear any of the music, and Zach just keeps putting in like like it was
very funny.
like very clear lyric, not lyrics, the beats of songs.
Doing Sandstorm, they're like, you can't do that. That's Sandstorm.
Yeah,
I think most of that just comes from my love of singing.
You really love that. That's something I know about you.
Yeah, look.
But thank you, Jordan. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I enjoyed it too, clearly. I'm never having more fun than when I'm annoying my scene partners and
for sure. Like time. I feel like you got to get past the it's good to be humble, but also like the point. And so when improv stuff hits, I've never made anybody laugh where I was like, huh. Like, I'm always like, yeah, I agree. I also thought it was funny.
That's right, you did.
That's why I did it. So it's like, in that way, it's really great. It's like, yeah, we all had fun in that moment, me included. Like, that's why I'm doing it. I'm so glad we both liked it. Because I'm going to like it no matter what. Whether you like it or not is up to you. And honestly, that's none of my business.
It's none of my business if you like it or not.
I love it from both of you all the time.
Well, you have good taste, Jordan.
I will say, like, the thing that I hate the most about both of you is
balance this out.
How often someone sees a mountain next to a beach and posts it in Dropout communities. We're like, yeah, no, we know they actually exist. You don't have to post it every single time you see it.
I know.
Like, they've been to Portland. They know it exists.
It's so funny. I'm like, sometimes it's a slip of the tongue that then we all decide to double down, which is like obviously what's happening there, where we're like, how can that be? And then we're like, no, we know. We're just like, but
yeah. And yet I stand by that. How can that be? What a wonderful world we live in.
It doesn't make sense.
No, I think, but I did think it comes from like this core idea that like a city's what's it called? Reputation, vibe, it would be one or the other, right? You would be like, this is come here, it's a city of mountains, or like it's weird for them to claim both. It's sort of like a pick a lane thing. I think that at its core, yes, other than the very geographic variance of this beautiful and wild world, this does in fact have mountains,
gorgeous marble.
In a way, all mountains come from the sea if you follow them far enough.
Hey,
Wow.
Beautiful. I wish we could end there, but we do need to talk about the Kickstarter because that was very poetic. But we have to talk about it. So Kickstarter's coming soon at some point. You don't have a launch date yet, which is well, you might. Also, can we just shout out Laser, just the absolute most talented human being in the world?
Endless shout outs for Laser.
I have known Laser for years, and while I always knew he was like incredibly competent and good at stuff, this is my first time working with him in this specific capacity, and he's hey, if you need a Kickstarter run, you can't
truly.
Do better.
Yeah.
And our decision to go for this through crowdfunding on like a very short timeline is only possible with like Laser's help and guidance, because he's been able to do what maybe should have been weeks more of prep and thinking through and been like, okay, we're going to like build this ship in the air a little bit, which is great. And yeah, Laser is incredible. So yes, we support the shout out.
When does this come out, Jordan?
Anytime you want it to.
Oh, so the kicks.
Well, probably the Kickstarter is live now. Then
I would say. I mean, we can put it in the chat, or you can cut this out. But it's launching on this Tuesday.
Okay,
so
great.
I don't know,
yeah,
I don't know how quickly you edit
when do you normally
or release, but it's this Tuesday.
Look, I do so little editing for like the whole thing. I just like unless something happens where I need to like.
But what's your weekly release day?
It's normally a Friday release,
great.
But like
so this will be out.
We'll do that.
Yeah,
the Kickstarter is live, and there's still some early potentially there's some finite rewards still available. So get in there early. The I don't think we have to explain or be secretive about this. Algorithms control the internet, so early momentum is extremely important for us to make sure that we can reach our goals. So if you're thinking about donating to the Kickstarter and you're like, oh, I'm meaning to do that, please do it as early as you can, because that really does matter, unfortunately.
Early help
I'd love for you to be able to know exactly what your position is, or be able to think longer about how much you're capable of donating. But
And regardless of when you donate to it, by doing it at all, like this production is very, very lean, but we have like a couple of operating principles that we're like very proud of. Like basically everyone is making the same amount of money. Like we're trying to pay every single person that works on it. And also we're getting a lot of our locations for free. We're getting a lot of our gear for free. So really what we are trying to invest, really what the money gets us is like people, more actors in it. And that's the most fun part anyway.
So, I know that really and even looking at it, like it was like a moment of pride when we like broke down our budget, and it was like the biggest line item is people. And that's so cool. And I think it just resonates to the kind of stuff that we want to make. And so yes, you might be the difference between like the bailiff being an off-camera voice done as a favor, or a human who gets to like be there and make money and be in a project.
and one that and love, who probably lives in Los Angeles and is a comedy person.
Yeah, who gets to shoot something in the city where production is supposed to happen. And like as much as it's, we love that it can happen other places, we just need it to also happen here. So we're
fly to Ireland and shoot there. Somehow it's cheaper.
Sort of relying on it for the sustainability of the city. So, yes, we are trying to make this like, this is the idea, going back to where we started, it was designed to be doable. So this isn't like, if we don't make this money, we won't be able to do that giant CG shot that the whole movie hinges on. It's like, no, there's a version of this movie that is like very doable and still at like a very high and professional caliber. And, we know that it's going to resonate with people who like us a little or a lot. And so this is like something you can feel really good about tossing some dough towards.
Any Kickstarter rewards that you're particularly excited about?
Well,
because they'll be live by the time people see this.
We're pretty thrilled about the merch. There are... it's really good. And good. It's designed by Sean Matthew Leary, who runs Off Books, like graphic design and social media, who's just been like a long time beautiful collaborator as well. So like, again, bringing in a bud. This is not made by like AI, and it's to rep the team within the movie. So, and the merch is like a t-shirt or a sweatshirt of the team with the team logo, and it will be depicted on camera. So you can like rep your mock trial shirt from Highland High with a Harry Coup on it, which is also very Zach and Jess coded because we had a great time doing Edinburgh Fringe. Zach was a Harry Coup for Halloween, very convincingly.
Sure
so it's like very, just everything we're doing about it feels like so exciting to be really thoughtful and intentional about, down to the merch. And then there's like lots of stuff that I think, you know, singing your voicemail, like access to like maybe a stream show. There's a tier where you will get a gavel. There's like exciting stuff that both feels like it's helping you celebrate this specific project, whether it be very mock trial themed, or if you're coming to it because you're a fan of Zach and Jess, it's going to be very musical coded, very like really overused coded today. But it's going to be very musical. It's going to feel like it's connected to like maybe why you already know about us and why you've followed us so far. It's all going to be stupid and joyful and silly. And then as we reach goals, we might unlock new stretch goals and thus new rewards. But there are finite ones.
I'm prepared to say if we do raise $50 million for this movie, we will be putting in a big CG thing to blow the entire budget.
If we hit 50 million.
Hey.
If we hit 50 million, there's going to be a big fish monster.
So that
opens its big mouth and it eats the whole
that's a
high
promise
school.
we are making
And that's
here.
how it ends.
So go ahead.
It's an exclusive.
Sell your parents' homes.
Do you know how great it would be if you had a mockumentary, like full, like 90 minutes, there's like all, and then at the very end, a stunning CGI fish monster just eats the school, and you're like, that's
and
the
we're
end.
doing
It's like, and then you see like Godzilla pops up in the back, and you're like, this was Godzilla all along. It's a Godzilla prequel about Godzilla needs to kill the big fish.
Help us get to 50 mil, fam. Sign up in the chat.
Oh my god!
No. We're asking for much
if
less
people
than
want to find it, where can they find the
Link
Kickstarter
in bio
to back it?
It's Zach and Jess personal Instagrams, or in the link tree at the Off Book Instagram. Those are the best places to find it. We are a project we love on Kickstarter, which we're really excited about. Obviously, that's through like the due diligence of Laser, so it should be very findable on Kickstarter. If you haven't yet, sign up for our mailing list, which is buttondown.com/Zach and Jess, because that in the archive you can like hear more about the story of how this project came to be, and obviously all the links are there. That's also a great place to see some
pictures
old
of high school
pics, and that's a great place to stay informed like as the project continues.
And we haven't talked about this yet, but this is also a Jessica McKenna directed film.
It's not Steven Spielberg, So this will be written by Zach and I, starring Zach and I, directed by me. So it will be, my feature directorial debut. And we're collaborating with filmmaker duo called Thunder King Productions, Matt Kane and Mark Underhill. Mark Underhill is a friend of mine from college, and the pair of them are extremely talented DP, writer, director, super duo. And they helped me make a short last year that has sort of, because I've been wanting to noodle around about directing, and they helped make our proof of concept where we went down to my high school and shot with the current championship team. And so it's great because it's like another duo with another duo. It's like very fun and exciting, like for the four of us to all collaborate of like, okay, great. Two pairs are coming together to bring you not just a great hand in poker, but a very funny movie. Thanks, man.
Absolutely. A perfect button, as always.
Better than two pairs.
Zach, J-Mac, thank you so much. I'm so excited for Mock Trial. I'm excited for everything that you do. I can't wait to see what comes next with you on Dropout and everywhere else.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And we said that in perfect unison because we had to.
There's a delay.
It was,
I
was just going to say
go ahead,
thank you
please.
again. We really, really appreciate it.
Oh, no. This was absolutely all a pleasure, all on my end. I don't have an interview, so I'm just going to hit stop recording.